Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, your home all things Dragons RFC and rugby in the region. I'm Jamie, and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. How are we, Gav?
Slightly croaky, Jamie, and watched the Sharks game on a very depressing cold train journey. So, I'm not really full of excitement, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk Dragons.
I mean, it's not a good, that's a double whammy, isn't it? Watching the Dragons first, or then being on a cold train watching the Dragons. That must have been pretty grim.
It was a good metaphor, I think. It was a good metaphor for what I was watching.
Oh, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, I was 50 yesterday, and I'm feeling every one of those days.
Oh, well, happy birthday anyway. I hope you had a good weekend.
I did, yes. But it was less good today when I got a text from our coach saying, yeah, we've got no other second rows, Gav. You're definitely starting on Saturday.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. You don't want that to do.
No, not at 50.
Happy birthday, you're playing. Yeah. Right, we have a guest with us tonight, Gav.
We do.
We are going to do another View from the Opposition podcast. So we have with us a Lions supporter, and he's also a South African rugby YouTuber. He's one of my favorite content creators out there at the moment. I really enjoy watching his videos. It's really good fun. So welcome to the pod, Rian Lowe. How are you feeling, Rian? You okay?
How's it, guys? It's very good to be here. A lot of fun to meet all kinds of people from across the URC, and just chat rugby. Very, very nice to be here. Sorry to hear about having to play for the Dragons, but Gavin, but happy birthday.
not quite the Dragons level, Rian. That's.
I thought the locks were. I saw the Ospreys have run out of locks. I thought maybe the Dragons were in the same boat. So
no, second row was one of our areas of strength, I would say.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yes, one of the few areas of strength for the Dragons. So, great to have you with us, Rian. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of how you're going to start up your YouTube channel for those who may not be familiar with it?
Well, I'm sure as a lot of people got new hobbies a couple of years ago because we were all in lockdowns. You're sitting at home, you don't know what to do with yourself. So I was always thinking there's not really a lot of South Africans doing this YouTube thing, especially rugby YouTube. So I thought, okay, let me just start it. And the first few videos, please don't go watch them. They're terrible. They were filmed on my phone. I had no microphone or anything like that. But since then, it's grown a bit. I've been recognized a few times, and it's just a bit of fun every week to update what's happening in the world of rugby. I've been watching a lot of rugby YouTubers over the years, and it's a lot of people sitting still, looking at the camera, talking. So I was like, no, a bit of pantomime, go crazy, make jokes, jump all over the couch, and just make it as entertaining as possible. That's rule number one for me. And just give people an idea of what's happening in South African rugby. And then when we joined the ERC, it was even nicer to be able to speak to a whole new crowd of people, to just help people understand not all South Africans are grumpy, angry people on Twitter. Some of us
You sure?
Some of us are optimistic and happy and don't talk about refs every weekend. And I'd like to be one of those guys who set that example,
So in terms of joining the URC, and was that the natural move, do you think, for the South African clubs? Because the Super Rugby, the distances were huge. It was, I'm not suggesting Cardiff to to South Africa is not huge either. But does it fit better for the South African clubs, do you think?
For me personally, it does. That's only because I've got 2 kids now. So Saturday mornings, 7:30 watching rugby is it's not on the cards anymore. Obviously there was 25 years of Super Rugby, that we built up, and that's a long history of games and players and teams that you remember. So that history does not exist yet for the URC. But what I do enjoy about the URC is obviously the time zones. We don't have to, play games at 5:30 in the morning. There's always a game on at a time when the braai fire is going. So that's very nice. And then it's also the fact that I can go and see RG Snyman play one of these weekends. If he's playing in Joburg or if he's playing in Pretoria, that's a very nice feeling. Steven Kitsoff in the past, he would be lost to us now, but now I know he's playing for Ulster. One of these days he might be coming down to South Africa and I can see him play again. Tinus de Beer, Cardiff legend. I can now see
Cardiff legend.
I can now watch him play every now and again. So that's very nice to know that players we have that go to Europe, we've made peace with the fact that we can't keep guys in South Africa. But it's nice to know that I'll be able to see some of those players still play in South Africa, even if it's for a team like Ulster or Munster. So that's been very nice for us.
Can I just add Brock Harris to that list of players? Dragons legend, who you can see at the Stormers, who made his 400th appearance. Fair play to him. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a good weekend for the South African teams in the URC. Rian, what did you make of it?
It's that thing that it's becoming a bit of a pattern now. The South Africans tour early on in the season, and we go over there from our nice warm weather to freezing cold Europe and lose most of the games on tour. And then as soon as we get back home, we're like, okay, we'll show you what we can do. And then it turns into an absolute. It's been a bit of a thrashing this past weekend. I think it was 2 60-pointers and a 50-pointer, which you don't always want to see, but. It's nice to get back on the winning horse. We lost 4 games the weekend before that, which is always a bit embarrassing. So it's a bit strange to see the Stormers drop so many games overseas, but I think they have maybe a bit bigger World Cup hangover than most teams because their front row was proper Springboks. They had a few back rows, all that kind of stuff. So with them coming back soon, I think we'll see them starting to pick up the wins as well.
I think that's clear as well. The Sharks team that played Ospreys a few weeks ago in London compared to the Sharks team that played Dragons in Durban were worlds apart, absolute worlds apart. When you bring in World Cup winning players off the bench.
Yeah, just the difference. Someone like even a backline player like Mapimpi, just to see he looks so much calmer. You can tell the other guys look to him to see. Look for guidance. All of that makes such a huge difference. But when you can bring on Etzebeth into your team, I mean, that guy, he's one of the most valuable players in the world. It's just a different league. And even opposition look at you differently when they see those guys in front of them. So, no, it's made a huge difference. Unfortunately, the Lions can't call back a few box, but hopefully that'll change with this young crop of players we've got coming through now.
Yeah, it's similar with us with the Dragons, Gav, isn't it? Like, we don't have a lot of Welsh internationals, and people seem to think, the Dragons, they're less disrupted, so they'll be okay, But no, it still doesn't work out that way, Gav, does it?
Well, we lose our key players. We lose our key players, which is our biggest challenge, I imagine. We lose a spine of a team, lose an 8, lose a hooker. You lose in your spine then.
But that's the issue. We're not heavily as affected as the other regions, but we just lose the key players because we don't have the depth. That's the problem. Yeah. So the Lions had a very good win on the weekend at Zebra, an improved Zebra, 61-19. What did you make of that game, then? And did that surprise you, the manner of the defeat, considering Zebra are on the up, or was that pretty much as expected for you? What did you make of it?
I was expecting them to score, put on a big score. It is really tough to go to Joburg after being in cold weather up north. It was very, very hot this weekend gone, and the it's dry right now, and the altitude is a thing. So I knew the Lions, they do know, the Bulls as well, they do know how to kind of pace themselves through the match and just wait for those last 20 minutes. And that's when things open up. I was more surprised to see Zebre score so much. 19 points is actually more than I thought they would have managed. Their maul and their scrum is looking a lot stronger, but just when the Lions get back to Ellis Park, even being a team that's not filled with superstars, they do love playing at home, even if it's empty most of these days. And when they get to running and they get to keeping the game high speed, that's one of the things that makes the Lions different from the other SA teams. They do not sit a prop on the floor just before line out to catch their breath. They want to go, because they know Ellis Park is high in the sky, it's very hot, and they can run most teams off their feet. And you'll see that this coming weekend, by the 60th minute, they will just all of a sudden pick up the pace and try and run the Dragons off their feet. That is one of the main things.
Can't wait.
That's something to look forward to. So I watched highlights of the game, Rian, and as you were saying, it seems quite sparse. I don't know how many Ellis Park holds. Lots, I imagine.
Yeah,
what
70,000.
70,000. What kind of crowds do you get for Lions games?
Well, there's two issues with it. The first thing is the side of the stadium you see is the sunny side. The cameras are in the shade, and it's 36 degrees. You do not want to go sit in that sun for 80 minutes. You will turn into a cherry red person. So everyone sits on the same side as the camera in the shade, which is the first issue. And if there's 5,000 people in that stadium, it still seems empty. So the crowds, they've been a bit light now because it's end of the year and most Joburgers go to the coast on holiday. We're inland, very far from the coast, so December is kind of the holiday time in South Africa. So I'm expecting the crowds in Joburg to stay a bit empty until everyone's back from their holidays. So that's the first issue is the heat, and no one wants to sit on that side of the stadium. And the other side is we have been poor for the last few years. We have not managed to beat a South African side in Joburg for a very long time, and the fans are very fickle. We don't like supporting losing teams. I do, because I'm used to them losing. But yeah, no one wants to go to Ellis Park, which is in a bit of a rough area. It's not expensive. People say it's expensive, but you can get a ticket probably for 50 Rand, which is like about £1.50 per ticket, and you can go sit anywhere in the stadium. A beer is 35 Rand, so that's £1.20 or something, 20p. So it's very cheap, even for South Africans. It's just no one wants to go to Ellis Park, which is in a bad part of Joburg, in the heat, and usually watch us lose. So yeah, that's just kind of the problem.
In terms of the playing conditions as well, he was talking about 36-degree heat, and I've not been to South Africa, unfortunately, so I don't know what it's like. But is that a very dry heat, or is it humid?
In Joburg, it's dry. Because we're high, it's not very wet here. So Joburg and Pretoria are both quite dry. We're in the Highveld, the Savannah, and then Durban, that is a tropical climate. So it's wet, humid. Still gets to 36, but it would be like 90% humidity. So the ball turns into a bar of soap there. And then Cape Town is the most mild, but they do get a bit of rain in winter. So Cape Town now will be nice and dry, but not boiling hot. They have the nicest climate, really.
So the Dragons are going to be facing 100-degree temperatures at altitude, essentially, on the weekend.
No water. You will see some very red faces by the end of that game. The sun will be killing them.
I was just thinking about what you're saying about the stadium. I've heard Lions fans say it's not a nice part of the city. That's part of the problem. Is there anywhere else Lions could play their rugby? Because when you look at the Stormers, now they play some games in Stellenbosch, don't they? So is there anywhere else the Lions could take some games, do you think, in the city?
There's plenty of places in Johannesburg. There's a few universities around. There's a few athletic stadiums. The issue is the Lions own Ellis Park. So if they are not using it to make themselves money, it is a big white elephant that needs maintaining. So that's their biggest issue, is if they are not using Ellis Park, they are losing money on it. And I think that's why they have never thought to take the game anywhere else. They've played, because we also have two levels. The URC is our top club level, but below that is the Currie Cup, and then we have a level even below that as well. And sometimes some of those games are taken to smaller clubs and stuff, and then they fill them. There's 5,000-6,000 people there. You know, a smaller venue with that many people feels a lot bigger, feels a lot busier. But I just think the Lions do not want to leave Ellis Park because they need to make money by keeping it open, having people. I don't know how they make money with 1,000 people there, but yeah, that seems to be the idea.
And that's the problem, isn't it? In a big stadium, it's like you're now in Newport when Dragons play a Rodney Parade. I've been to games where there's been like 2,000-3,000, but you know they'll say it's like 4,000 or 5,000. Like, no, it's not that many here, but it doesn't look so bad because it's a small stadium. But when you've got 5,000 in a massive stadium, it just doesn't look good, does it, for TV? But saying now though, the Lions, they do make Ellis Park a fortress, don't they? They are strong at home, you know, so it doesn't hinder them not having, you know. And like I said, the side the camera's on, the shaded side, there's easily sometimes 5,000-6,000 people there, and it gets noisy if you're there. I'm going to be there this coming weekend. Look out for me on the TV because I'll be one of You'll be on the other side. We won't see you.
I'll go sit in the sun for a little bit. The only person on the other side of the field. But it does get noisy. The players do appreciate everyone that comes there. We are always allowed on the field after the game. You're allowed to go meet and greet the players afterwards as well. So that's always fun. And outside the stadium, they put up bouncy castles and there's a beer garden and all that kind of stuff. So they try and make it fun for the people who do go. It's just, the crowds are fickle and we often lose our derbies, which is annoying. The Bulls, they don't mind traveling there, and the Sharks and the Stormers always seemingly win at Ellis Park.
Your description
you talk about derbies. I was just saying our derbies against Cardiff. I don't know if you know, Israel, we've lost to Cardiff like 18 times in a row. I don't know if you knew that. So we know where it's like. I mean, we beat the Ospreys and we could beat the Scarlets, but for some reason we cannot beat Cardiff for love nor money. And I'm convinced it's just psychological, or someone's put a curse on us that we cannot beat Cardiff. So I do kind of understand your pain when it comes to the derbies. Sorry, Gav, what was you going to say there, mate?
Well, I was just when Rian was saying about they tried to make it fun as opposed to Rodney Parade, which can feel quite depressing. There's no bouncy castles, just a tent of doom.
They do try and make it a family affair because it's in the daytime. A thing about Joburg is we get thunderstorms almost every day at 4 or 5 o'clock. So proper lightning storms. So you can't really play rugby because there's lightning danger. So that's why oftentimes they have like 2 o'clock kickoffs here just to make sure there's no rain. And then that means, invite the kids, bring the family, make it a day out. So that's the thing they do try and do.
So is Johannesburg traditional rugby territory, Rian, or is it a soccer part of South Africa?
The biggest, I think there isn't really a non-rugby territory in South Africa. There is a more rugby area, which is Stellenbosch, Cape Town there. That's where the oldest schools, the oldest clubs, all of that's over there. So they have a much livelier, especially club game. Schools everywhere in the country. If you have a high school, you often have a rugby ground. But the biggest rugby thing is the Western Cape, where the Stormers are from. But Pretoria, which is just 50 km up the road from Joburg, is huge rugby town. Joburg has good rugby schools, good rugby clubs, but it's a very, very big city. So the west of Joburg might have very big clubs and stuff, and they never play the east of Joburg because it's literally 80-90 k's from one side of the city to the other side. So it is a bit more spread out, where the Cape has smaller towns with maybe 3 or 4 clubs in it. So that creates a nice little rugby atmosphere. So there isn't really a non-rugby area in South Africa, but Joburg is just so big that it is spread out. It feels a bit thinner.
I've played rugby with lots of South Africans, but they all tend to be from the Cape or from Transvaal, and that tends to be where they're from.
So the URC is in its 3rd year now, isn't it? Is it the 3rd year? Yeah, because Stormers, but
yeah.
How is the URC perceived now in South Africa? Because, I mean, obviously Super Rugby, that was a very popular format, wasn't it? You know, when you had the Crusaders, you had all the big teams, and it's taken a little while, I guess, for fans to adapt and adjust to this new competition. But how do you think it's now being perceived as a competition in South Africa?
I think everyone does believe it's as good quality as the Super Rugby. At the start, I think a lot of people thought, oh, if you letting us win the very first URC, how good could it be? You know, we could never beat the Crusaders. We could never beat the Blues or whatever. But the first season we win the URC. But what's helped is the Irish sides. I'm sorry to say that. The fact that Ireland the fact that Ireland went to New Zealand and beat New Zealand 3 times there really woke up South Africans to like, oh, okay, if that's the type of team we're in a league with, this must be a pretty good league. And then for Munster to come to Cape Town and win the URC there, I think it's given credibility to the teams that are in the ERC now. A lot of people thought, no, it's never going to be like Super Rugby. If you don't have the New Zealand teams, there's no ways it's as good. But seeing the quality, and now even the Scottish sides, they've come up as well, and they've beaten us a few times. So I think slowly people are realizing that the quality is as good as the Super Rugby quality was. There's just the weirdness of, you know, we're used to cricket over December. Now I can still go to Ellis Park over December, which is very weird to us. You know, rugby is supposed to be June, July, that kind of time of the year. So that's taking some time to build into people. And I think it'll get stronger. Every year it does better. Every year you see more people wearing rugby jerseys with an ERC patch on it, not the Super Rugby patch, which means they've been buying new jerseys. They've been watching the games. And amongst my friends who were all rugby fans, they didn't stop watching. They just switched to the ERC. And it's just the European Cup that's trying to get our head around. That is now an issue. But the URC, I think people have bought in. They know, okay, this is the new thing now, and we are playing against very good teams. That's all we want. We just want good teams to be in the league we're playing in, and I think we do have that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Does part of you miss Super Rugby though, Ian, if you're being brutally honest? Yeah. Do you think it was the right idea to pull out of that competition and come into the ERC? Can you see why that happened?
I think the last season of it was just before COVID hit. The Sharks were doing well. The Lions were doing poorly. The Bulls and the Stormers were kind of middle of the pack. I think they had just tweaked it too many times. That was what happened. It just, every year there was talk of, okay, next year the format will change again, and the format will change again. And that just kept happening and happening and happening. And we just didn't seem to be, you know, the Lions nearly won it 3 times, but then we just went down again, and all our players left, and we thought we'd never see them again. So, but deep down, you know, I grew up watching it, you know, from 2000 or 95 or something. We'd already been watching it. We were used to getting up on a Saturday morning. There's 2 games of rugby on, and then it's a couple hours later. There's now the games in South Africa start. Then the games at night in South Africa. So there was a lot of, you know, built-in tradition and all that kind of stuff that we do miss. I mean, you're always going to miss. You remember seeing Dan Carter and Richie McCaw and all those kinds of guys live, which you won't see again. But it'll take time. You need time to build history. I'm glad to see that the URC, the guys in charge, seem to be saying, okay, we're not going to change anything. Let it bed in. Try and build rivalries and don't tinker with it too much. And that's all most South African fans are asking for. Just keep something the same for more than 2 years, please, because that's been for the last 10 years. Every year the thing is new, and you have to learn all kinds of new teams.
You've got no fear of that with Welsh rugby. We've been doing the same stuff for about 8 years. So
what is happening in Wales? I can't understand it.
Well,
we haven't got time to go into the major.
It's a professional sport run by people who don't even qualify as amateurs, to be honest.
I've read your financial reports. I went out of my way. I had the Irish and the Welsh yearly financial reports next to each other. I'm like, these look identical. Why is it not the same? And then you just see spending on hotels or something is like 50 times higher in Wales. I'm like, what is going on there? So,
well, we built a hotel. Well, not we, the WRU built a hotel. and that's where they pump the money into.
Yeah.
And
Instead of into
it's
coach pathways and that kind of stuff.
and the problem is, it's not just at the international level, it's not just a regional level, it's at the club level, the grassroots level, which is where my real passion lies. And in the tier below the Welsh Premiership, one of our best clubs has had to pull out of a game on Saturday because they can't field the front row. It's
Pontypool, wasn't it? Pontypool, the famous Pontypool, yeah.
It's beyond. This is a team who provided the British Lions front row that went to South Africa in 1974 and tore up every team there. And now can't put a front row out to play a team in North Wales. It's been run into the ground, and the game is dying on its arse, for want of a better phrase.
It sounds a lot like the Stormers. I don't know if you know, the Stormers were actually being run by South African Rugby Union for the last few years. They went into administration because the clubs were in charge. Amateur clubmen were getting the same amount of votes as the professional arm, and they were just running it into the ground till Saru said, sorry, we have to take over this thing because you guys have run it into the ground. That's why they lost guys like Pieter-Steph du Toit and all that. They were eating McDonald's in the first season of the Urk on their tours just to be able to afford their food. That's not changed. They've got the club guys to stop running it, and it's become now a professional union. So hopefully that happens in the
problem is our union is run by amateur club guys. I'm an amateur club guy. I could not run a major world sport competition. But that's what happens in Wales. It's old blokes in blazers with club ties running, and it's insane. It's insane.
Well, they are changing the structure, haven't they? They voted for all
I
these
saw
changes.
There was a big thing, new board members and all kinds of stuff happening.
But that's only because of the racism, misogyny, and I'm sure you've heard all about it. There was some awful, grim shit going on in the Welsh Rugby Union. Really bad.
No, not just amateur, racist and sexist as well. So
I'm glad it's come out, fix it, sweep all that stuff out, and just sometimes you got to go through pain before it gets better.
And we've already spoken about this. I don't want to get caught up on it, but we aren't sweeping it out. The problem is there are people there, senior people who were there, who knew what was being said, who knew the attitudes that were being held, and they're still there. And I've had senior positions in organisations. If something's wrong in the organisation, it's your fault, whether or not you've done it, and that's the problem.
Well, hopefully
it is a big problem. I mean, the problem with Welsh Rugby was
big banners at games that say Glazers out, but whatever the guy that Glazers.
The problem was Warren Gatland. He achieved a lot of success with Wales, but that was papering over the cracks in Welsh Rugby, and we never addressed them because as long as Wales were winning, everything was okay. And then when Wales started losing and underperforming, and then all of a sudden it became a big issue. Why are our regions not winning? Well, it's obvious they haven't been winning because we're underfunded. We don't spend the money in Wales in the same way the Irish do. So the Irish invest a lot of money into their pro teams, and they don't do that in Wales. And that's the problem. Our teams are underfunded. We got low budgets, and the budgets are coming down next year as well. So at the moment it's 5.2. Next year's going to drop to 4.5. And you got to consider like Glasgow, they got budgets like 7 million. I mean, Leinster's budget is like 10 million plus.
More than that.
Yeah,
apparently. More than it could even be more than that.
I'd say it's closer to 15 Leinster's.
It's not a level playing field. We got small squads and low budgets. That's we are where we are, unfortunately.
Oh, well.
So
hopefully
did you? Hopefully. Well, fingers crossed. We're still waiting, but we wait to see. Did you watch Sharks and Dragons by any chance?
I did. I think I watched 60% of it. I had a child running around the house, but I did see most of it. Yeah, I saw Rio Dyer looks just as good as ever. So that was nice to see. And what else did I note? No, I'm thinking about the guy who's playing for the Cardiff. Is it Mason Grady or something? I'm remembering him running down the wing.
This is a Dragons pod. We don't want Cardiff chat on you, mate. They're our rivals. I don't want to mention the C word on you. But yes, he's a very talented young player.
Yeah.
Defensively dubious, Mason Grady, but
talking down here. This is a Dragons one.
We do talk about other clubs occasionally. And kind of for me, Rio had a good game. There were a couple of times when he dropped the ball, but I think he was trying to do absolutely everything. He was really our only outlet. Durban man Bradley Roberts, he's been one of our better players this season, and I think he put himself around a lot.
Yeah. No,
Other than that, I'm starting to run out the positives now, though.
I felt sorry for Bradley Roberts because before the game on S4C, they had a feature of him. He was talking about growing up in Durban. He was like, I'm a Durban boy. And he was saying, I'm really excited about this game. It's going to be all my family and friends there. And they've got absolutely destroyed by the Sharks. So I can't imagine how he was feeling after the game. Like this. I felt a little bit sorry for him, Some homecoming hours, isn't it? Again, 69 points on you. Like, do you know what I mean? Poor guy. So let's talk about Lions then. You've got some good contract news, haven't you? I understand you've re-signed a lot of your players. Yeah, that's good news.
Yeah, no, the issue is we've always had we've got good talent development, good talent spotting. We like to buy them young or bring them through young, and then as soon as they get slightly good, it's the Sharks or the Bulls or someone comes calling. So to have a announcement where some of our core players are all still ready and going for the next couple of years is very good. It almost seems this year like they are starting to click. We might not have won as many overseas as we did last year, but that first few minutes against Ulster was the best I've seen the Lions play for the last few years. They just looked unfussed. They weren't playing or overplaying. They were very well controlled. They just couldn't keep it up for the whole match. And it's nice to see we've got guys like Nkabakanye and Ruan Venter, Frankie Horn. These are all like you said, guys on the spine are tight head. He's signed up. Or eighth man, he's signed up. Or blindside. Guys who all look like they could step up to even higher honors have now signed for a longer time. And that's what you need. You need that cohesion to build. And especially with the game we play, we try and play a very attacking game, and that takes longer to build. So no, it was very good news to see those guys in. They have been looking better, and I'm hoping that we can start to build some momentum now that we're back home. I'd love to see these guys to start building and winning games in South Africa against the South African teams. It's something we've been struggling with for the last few years. So you'll see Sanene Nohamba, we got him from the Sharks, Edward van der Merwe, Quan Horn, our fullback. They're all young guys, 24, 25 years old. They're starting to hit their stride now, and they've all signed up. So the future looks bright, at least.
Who are your players to watch then, Rian? Who are the guys we need to be keeping an eye out for on Saturday?
Well, our number 3, Nkabakanye, he's a gigantic, proper old school tight head prop. You won't believe he can play for 80 minutes, but he does. He's one of our anchor in the scrum. We have a very good scrum. Then our back row, many people in the country are envious. It's Ruan Venter, our 7. In South Africa, our blindside plays 7, so he'll be the big guy. Look out for him running over a few people. And then Frankie Horn, our 8, he has been playing incredibly well. A lot like, I don't know if you remember, if you ever saw Warren Whiteley play for the Lions in the old days.
I do indeed. Yeah.
Basically, Warren Whiteley reborn, a very, not your big bruiser, Jasper Wiese type of player, more a link man. You'll see him out in the Whites channels. And then Sanele Nohamba at 10. He's actually a 9, playing at 10 now. He's been playing very well. And then our 15, Quan Horn, also brilliant. Young guy, very good under the high ball. And you'll see him running at a back a few times. He doesn't just always kick it back. So those guys are 3, are 7, are 8, 10, and 15. Basically the spine.
Are any of these guys on the fringes of the Springboks team? Should we expect to see any of them in Springboks jerseys soon?
It's tough to break into that box side right now, but I think we'll be looking probably at number 7, Ruan Venter, the blind side. The box, no, that's a very attritional position. Pieter-Steph du Toit often gets hurt because it's such a physically demanding position. He'll be probably looked at a lot. And then I think our outside center, Henku van Wyk, he's got big raps on him as well. Very busy, great at turning over the ball as well, gets up off the ground and gets back into the game fast. And then I think probably Quan Horn of 15. He's very good under the high ball, very solid defensively and always in the right spot. So I think those guys are probably for me the ones with the biggest chance. Unfortunately, Frankie Horn, he's a very good eighth man, but he's not the type of eighth man South Africa uses. We want a big ball carrier to run over people, and that's not what he does.
No. Well, you got the Dragons this weekend. Now, Dragons played Lions 3 times last season.
It felt
we actually
like
drew
we 10 times.
I know, it was becoming a regular occurrence. We actually drew one of those games in Johannesburg. Sam Davis, do you remember, Gav? He missed that drop goal. I think it was Jane Henriksen missed that penalty.
Yeah.
And then we had that silly game at Strumunuk because
it
Ronnie
felt like
Parade, the pitch was frozen. It's a training centre. It's literally a training centre. I couldn't go to that game, but that was quite funny. They have been close encounters, though, between these pairs. So Lions won 33-25 in the York last season, then 31 apiece in Europe. And then you beat us at Strumunuk 25-30. Do you think it's going to be anywhere near as close this time around? Come on, let's get your prediction and be honest. How do you see this game going?
It's just, I'm sorry to say, I don't want to make you guys feel bad, but I'm seeing it'll be better than Zebre. I'll say that at least. It won't be 60
That's okay
points.
then. We'll take that.
Well,
we'll take that.
I'm not even convinced after Ian said they've got a strong scrum. And after watching our scrum get folded up into tiny little bits against the Sharks.
Yeah, no, the Lions scrum does match any of the South African, even the Bok-laden packs. We match them and beat them very easily. So you'll be seeing a big scrum.
The more we talked about this, the more I'm thinking, oh no, it's going to happen again.
I'll definitely be looking to exploit that. If there's any weakness there, they'll be going after that. I'd say if the Lions, they'll be trying to hit 50 in the current weather we have, knowing that it's hot, it's high altitude. Our guys are fit. They've been playing together. If we can hit 50 and it does get loose when we play like that. So probably Dragons 20-25 points around there. You might get your try bonus point. I think it will become a bit of a loose game.
I'd be happy with that. If we come away with a bonus point of any kind, I'll be quite happy with that because that's something, isn't it? What do you know about the Dragons then? Put you on the spot. Are there any players who you're familiar with?
I know Rio Dyer and Bradley Roberts, especially Dyer. I actually saw him before he became a Welsh international. I was like, oh, this kid looks pretty good. So I've always kept an eye on him and Bradley Roberts, knowing because he's a Safa abroad. And but other than that, Wainwright, I thought he would be more of a regular Welsh international by now, but he fell off the radar after that 2019.
With Pivac.
It was the previous coach. The previous coach didn't think he was big enough, which is
well, I mean, Pivac didn't think Jack Morgan was big enough, like the best turnover merchant.
Exactly.
So.
Pivac thought lots of things that no reasonable human being thinks. So it's.
So those are the main three I know. I do rate Wainwright as well. I think he's a very good back rower, very fast, very good ball player as well. So those are the main three ones I know. I'll obviously, now that I've been on here, I'll keep a closer eye on them as well.
Excellent. I don't know if you know this, but the Dragons do have a very lengthy injury list. We wasn't sure if we were going to have a 10 to play in this game.
I heard
Kai Evans,
your training guy.
Kai Evans, so Kai Evans was off, and then Will Reid, who was a very keep an eye on him if he is playing. He's a very young, talented 10. He will play for Wales at some stage. He may look a little bit out of his depth at times. He'll make mistakes, but he's very talented, and I guarantee he will get a Wales cap. There was talk of us playing our backs coach for this game, but that's not going to happen now because Doug Flanagan said he was concerned about the altitude, and he's a semi-pro player. So he still plays rugby our backs coach. He plays in the Welsh Premiership for Newport. It looks like Will Reid is going to pass his protocols and.
I mean, you could just feel around Joburg. There would be some player somewhere here that you could just be like, just come play for us for the weekend, and be happy to do it.
That's pretty much how my club operates on a Thursday night, just ringing around anyone to see if anyone's available. But
brilliant. Okay, so thank you very much for coming on, Ryan. So good luck for the season, not for this weekend. I'm not being funny. I like the Lions, I really do, but if you could just go easy on us, please, because I can't take another Sharks demolition, quite frankly. This is becoming a tour of hell at the moment with all the entries, and I really need the Lions to go easy on us.
I'll shout from the stands to tell them, okay, guys, next try wins. Let's stop there.
Need to do like you do in junior rugby. When it gets a bit too much, I say, right, you can't score until you've made 10 passes.
Yeah, please send a prayer for us, really. That's all I'm saying. Just think of us, please. Don't go too hard. I hope you have a great day at the game.
Thanks a lot.
Before you go, can you just do one thing for me, please? Because I always love watching your videos, and I can't do it because I can't roll the tongue. You know I'm going to ask you for, don't you know? Rugby, I can't do it. Can you do it for us, please, just before you go? Listen to this, Gav.
Rugby.
Yes, love it.
Roll
Absolutely
the
love it. I was hoping you'd do that. Brilliant. That's the only reason I got you on the pod, to be honest.
Okay,
no, I'm only joking.
You just had to. I would have done it and left.
No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. It's been brilliant to have you with us and to get a South African perspective on things. I really appreciate it. So, for our listeners, listen to this. Where can they find you? On Twitter, YouTube?
Well,
they check out your work?
It's just my name. Rian Low is my YouTube channel name. I didn't go for some weird name or anything like that. And then on Twitter, I'm Ringo26. Ringo is an old high school nickname. Yeah, just at Ringo26 on Twitter. And I'm on Blue Sky now as well, but there's no one there, so don't worry about it. It's also
I joined Blue Sky this week.
Yeah, I've just started following. Yeah, I've just started following you, Rian, on Blue Sky.
Yeah, it's a nice friendly little spot still. So
yes, it's just people I know largely at the minute, which is quite nice.
Just my name on YouTube, and then at Ringo26 on Twitter. That'll be
excellent. And I urge all our listeners to subscribe to your YouTube channel because it's brilliant, it's informative, it's funny. I really enjoy it. So no problem at all. Keep up the good work. Brilliant. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
Hope you enjoy the game on Saturday.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
inviting me. Hope to chat soon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Bye,
thank you, mate.
Bye.
Take care now. Bye now. There we go. That was that was a fun chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's he isn't the typical South African rugby person. He's light-hearted and
he's likable.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say that. I'm sorry. No, I don't. I'm only joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, a bit. But you know, he clearly loves the game, but he doesn't take it too seriously.
Nah, he's a good bloke, and like I said, he's worth following on social media and definitely subscribing to his YouTube videos.
Well, you've introduced me to his videos this week, and I've watched a few of them now, and yeah, there's a lot of energy in those videos.
That's great. It's good. I think he's under sort of, he doesn't have that many followers compared to the likes of Squidge and others. He deserves more followers, I think, and more subscribers. It's really worth checking out his work. Thank you very much again for joining us on the pod. Right, Gav, I'm not going to spend too long on this game, all right, because I know you're full up with cold, and it was a horrible experience for us all. So, look, Sharks 69, Dragons 14. Look, before the game, we had 15 players unavailable. I don't know, people might think, well, that's excuse, but you've got to look at the names that we didn't have. So we haven't got the likes of Leon Brown, we didn't have Ben Carter, we haven't got any D, Jack Dixon, Dan Lydiard, Martinez, we're badly missing him up front. Angus O'Brien, of course, Tane Basham is suspended, and Gonzalo Bertrand still haven't been available since the World Cup. And then you look at the Sharks, and they're bringing back the likes of Ibanez, Beth Lucano, Makosi Mapimpi, Jaden Hendrickson, Oxnation, Grant Williams. This was always going to be.
They had Oxenche on the bench, and it's like,
yeah.
You've just had your heads kicked in for 50 minutes. Oh, here's a World Cup winning tight end to deal with.
And it didn't help that we had Roy Faber pull out an hour before kickoff as well. So Mickey Endo had to come on the bench, who I actually thought gave a decent account of himself in a very difficult circumstances.
He tried really hard, I thought, Luke. Yeah.
Yeah. The first scrum of the 7th minute, that set the tone. I said on the Rap Pod this week, I've watched a lot of rugby. I've never seen a scrum go backwards and get so utterly dismantled as I did in that game. It was so painful to watch. And, you know, I don't like knocking players because I know supporters page, but we've all got our players who we rate and those we don't quite rate. I think every supporter does that, don't they? Have players who, you know, they don't quite rate. I've never been a big fan of Chris Coleman. I'll put it out there now, I haven't, because for me, he's not strong enough in the scrum and he doesn't offer much in the loose. But you can't blame him for what happened in that game because, it was hard.
He's a Premiership player for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be fine playing for Newport or Ebbw Vale. He'd do a good job. But he wasn't playing for Newport or Ebbw Vale. He was playing for Dragons against World Cup winners, and they dismantled him. They dismantled the scrum, though. You can't blame the entire scrum.
Oh, no.
On a tight end, like, you know, it's it all fell apart. You know, you could just see it under pressure. Second rows have just come right up, so you lose your foot and you lose any drive forward. We just could not deal with the initial drive. Because you can, you know, if you can hold the initial drive, you'll be all right for long enough. You just lock it out, hold our initial drive, but we couldn't do it, and we just splintered.
But you could sense a yellow card was coming, and you could sense Chris Coleman was going to get it because he was turned inside out, unfortunately, this scrum. And I did feel for him. I
thought he was lucky not to get it earlier.
Yeah. And Aki Selui on the other side.
Oh, God,
Aki Selui on the other. I mean, listen, Aki Selui has never been the best scrummager, right? He was Glasgow's Player of the Year when he was up there. Believe it or not, he was voted by supporters as their Player of the Year. I've yet to see that at the Dragons, I'll be honest with you. I know he's good in the loose, but Aki's scrummaging is no good. Obviously, Bradley, we know his scrummaging is not his strength. No. The front row took an absolute pounding, Gav, didn't they?
It's difficult to scrummage as a hooker as well. As somebody who's played the hooker terribly, it is really tough. You know, you have limited impact, really. You know, what you have to do is hold the others down, really, you know, particularly when it's on the opposition ball. And Bradley doesn't do that. Bradley doesn't have the weight. But as I was saying to you before the pod recording, we were 15 kilograms heavier as a pack. So that's only 2 kilograms a player.
I'm surprised at that.
But we were
really
the
surprised
heavier
at
pack.
Wow.
I imagine most of it's in Matthew Screech's head.
Well, look, in the first half as well. So we had, we were going backwards. The scrum was on roller skates. The set piece was not functional at all. If you don't have a platform, you're really going to struggle. No. To top it off, we lost Ollie Griffiths, Kelsey, Will Reid, and Kai Evans in our first 40. And that's going to dismantle any teams and losing 3 key players like that. And I thought we did okay in the first half, even though we were really struggling in the set piece. At 27 down, we were still in the game. I thought we were okay, but the second half...
We had a scrum half at full-back and a centre at 10, and, you know...
Yeah, we had no recognised fly half, we had no recognised full-back. But in the second half then, once Ibanez scored their bonus point, the floodgates opened, and after 60 minutes, it was 34-14 to the Sharks. And I was thinking, if they can hold this out now, that won't be too bad because, we'll lose. But that scoreline, I thought, was respectable. And then we end up having 69 points put on us at the end.
As you know, I didn't get to watch the game live because I was preparing for my birthday and I was rehearsing with the guys I was playing music with before my birthday party. And I saw that score. Oh, that's all right. Put the phone away. 7 or 8 beers later, look at the phone. How the hell has that happened?
And I just wanted the whistle to blow up. You know, the more they were scoring tries, and I think the Dragons felt the same. Look, it was always going to be tough. Like I said, we just couldn't handle their physicality. We couldn't handle the power. You've got world-class, World Cup winning Springboks parachuted into that team. And this is not the same Sharks that was losing the previous 5 games before. No. This was a different Sharks. This was a powerful Sharks. This was a hungry Sharks team, a team with a point to prove because they were, again, heavily written off in the South African press. There was a lot of criticism aimed towards John Plumtree. This was a game they had to win and make a statement in, and they did that, didn't they?
We lost every collision. We lost every, we did anything that required physicality, we lost. There were 2 moments in the entire game where we looked physically in it. There was a tackle quite early on when Theo Tompkinson folds up one of their players beautifully.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much all he did all game. And then when Harry Keddy came on, start of the second half, he bumped off one of their second rows really nicely. But there was 2 occasions in the whole game where there was physicality. It's
Yeah, so Sean Holly said on Scrum 5 that the Dragons laid down. Do you agree with that statement? Because I don't. But honestly,
No,
what do you think? Do you think we laid down?
no, I think they ran out of steam. And I don't think they laid down. But the thing is, they were trying to push it. They were trying to push it at the end. They're throwing the ball about. And the errors were coming in, and they were knackered.
Yeah, they were blowing out their ass, weren't they?
Well,
In that final,
like
final whistle,
like Rhian said, they were playing in tropical, in a tropical environment.
Yeah, I don't think we helped ourselves though, Gav. I'm not going to fault the effort, because I think the players did try, but they were just completely overwhelmed and overpowered by a much superior team. But there were things in our game that did annoy me. So, for example, you had players turning their backs in the build-up to Eben Etzebeth try. They win a penalty and they turn their backs. Riley Roberts, I'm afraid, did that. And then he runs in for a try. You got an Iron Owen kicking the ball out dead in a promising position. You got Rio Dyer, who, yes, did have a good game, but there was that moment where he dropped the few and he just lobs that pass blind in field, and then it goes to a Sharks player and then it builds up and then it scored a try. He would never do that for Wales.
No.
So why would he do it for us? And I was a little bit annoyed by that. And he scored a great try, I know. But when you're just lobbing passes like that, no man's land for the opposition to scoop up, that didn't help. And then you had Theo Tompkinson, who threw that intercept pass. I just felt the self-destruct button was pressed. Once we were under pressure, we were making really bad mistakes, and then we did switch off, and it did become pretty nasty.
To play my greatest hits, so Jamie, as I always do, we seemed to lack leadership. We lacked leadership again. There was no Kai Evans gives us a bit of leadership, but when he went off, and there was a move as well where he's come into the line and he's played a bit of interplay with Blacker. And Blacker's played him in. He's played Blacker back, and then he's kind of run across the line and into space, and he created Blacker's try. But then we lost any kind of. I like Will Reid, and I agree that he is going to be a Welsh international. But at the minute, he's not getting to do a lot because, he's fighting a losing battle. It was men versus boys. I don't like using that phrase, but you could see the gulf. The gulf was visible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're right. It was men against boys, unfortunately. The stats are pretty damning. I don't know if you've ever time to look into the stats. I mean, I'm not going to reel them all off, though, because it can get a bit boring. I know some people listen up or don't like the whole stats thing. But Dragons missed 26 tackles. That's damning in itself. 14 penalties conceded compared to just 4 to the Sharks.
A lot of those were scrum penalties, though, weren't they? About 8 of those were scrum penalties of the 14.
Our scrum win percentage, I don't know if this is accurate, right? This is from Rugby Pass. Our scrum win percentage was 67%, which seems high considering what we saw on Saturday. I expected it to be much lower than that, given the dominance of the scrums.
Yeah. We did win some. We managed to get the ball out. Every time we did get the ball out, though, like there was a couple of times the balls come out and Harry Keddy suddenly has, half of South Africa on him when he's picking the ball up at the base. It wasn't, we were winning scramble. It wasn't a platform.
There was that one moment in the game where Chris Coleman gets a yellow card. Luke Yendall comes on. The very first scrum, we actually shunt them backwards a little bit, don't we? Do you remember that? We actually, and you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe Luke Yendall now is going to be our new hero up front. But I thought the scrum, it was a problem all game. But I did think, and credit to Luke Yendall, it did improve ever so slightly when he was on the field as opposed to Chris Coleman, I thought, personally.
Yeah, and it's the thing with a scrum is it's an organic thing made up of numerous parts, and I think we haven't got any continuity because how many games have we talked about now? 5, 6 games, and how many front rows have we
Yeah.
talked about? 5 or 6 different front rows, probably. It's no, and our second rows keep changing, and our back row keeps changing. There's no cohesiveness. And then you look at the Lions, who've picked exactly the same 23 players, who absolutely shellacked Zebra on the weekend.
Yeah, I think we badly missed Lloyd Fairbrother. I'm not saying the scrums would have been, much better, but I think they would have been a bit better than what we saw, because Lloyd is a scrummaging tight end, He is our best scrummaging tight end.
Oh, yeah. We are missing our best 2 scrummaging forwards, props, in Martinez and in Barrel. And, we're missing Ben Carter, who does give a bit of weight in the second row as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much money David Buttress puts in, but if he would like to fly to France with a big wheelbarrow full of money and just turn up at Will Rowland's house.
Did you see Dave Flanagan's post-match interview after the game?
I saw a truncated version of it. I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw little snippets.
He always comes across as positive in, all his interviews and media work. He looked utterly crestfallen after that game, and he was saying that he was asked by the South African media how Dragons stop the power, how they contain it. And he was like, I don't know. He just come out and said, I don't know. He doesn't know what to do. It's so tough, isn't it, Gav? I mean, how is he going to pick up his players now? How is he going to pick them up off the floor and get up for the Lions when you've suffered such a heavy defeat? That's going to shatter confidence, isn't it?
But, I'm thinking about what Ryan was saying as well. Lions are a team who like to play in incredibly high pace, at altitude, in extreme heat.
I know, when you said that, I'm thinking, oh Christ.
We've got boys from Risca and Blaenavon. The sun is a rare and fragile thing for these guys, and they'll be all right with altitude. There'll be boys who used to be in 36-degree heat.
Yeah.
There should be some consideration taken in for that. Yeah, that's all well and good, but there are boys here from Blaenavon. They do not like the sun.
No. Shall we open the mailbox to see what we got inside? Because we got one or two interesting comments and questions. Steve Davis, what do they need to do to fight back from this position? We've blown 2 potential home wins, leaving us in the doldrums yet again. How can we get out of this position? I mean, that's easier said than done, isn't it, Gav? But what do you say to that?
I've said this before, and it'll sound defeatist, and I don't really care. We have to target the winnable games. I play a lot of Football Manager. Occasionally, I'll have games where I know I'm not going to win, so I don't even put my best players anywhere near it. I'll put my fringe players out because I see very little point in competing in games you can't win, and then I keep the players together for the games that are winnable. And this needs to be the same for Derry. It's like, we aren't going to beat Leinster in Leinster. We aren't going to beat Munster in Munster. And that might sound defeatist, but fine. But let's focus on beating Cardiff, beating Scarlets, beating Ospreys, beating Zebra, beating Benetton. Let's beat those sides. And then,
but they've got to be competitive, though, Gav, haven't they? That's the only problem. I understand what you're saying, but if you take that position, you're just going to end up having lopsided scores like we've seen. And okay, we might not beat the likes of these teams, but we need to. I know that, but we need to get something out of it. We need bonus points. I've tried to explain to somebody on Facebook. You sort of have the same position as you. Bonus points accumulate and they add up. Even if you're not winning, we need bonus points because they do make a difference at the end of the season, Gav. So we got to fund them. We got to be competitive.
I do agree with you to a degree. It's just at the minute, though, we are not throwing everything we can into those, or maybe we are throwing everything we can into the winnable games, and I'm talking crap. And we just aren't good enough. That is the other uncomfortable truth in all of this. Maybe it doesn't really matter what we do because we are not good enough. and we aren't good enough because we don't have the squad, and I think that's apparent. You know, we have got a lot of injuries, and there is no strength in depth.
Yeah.
I will not criticize Dowie because I think he's doing everything he can, but he needs some help and he needs some expertise around him.
Yeah, I don't think the coaching setup is. I've talked about it on previous pods. I've got my doubts about the current coaching setup, but they just got to throw everything at the Lions, haven't they? You know, they've got to try and put that result behind them. Winning breeds confidence, and I just think if Dragons won a couple of games, that would help them massively. But when you get these heavy defeats, because it was reminiscent for me of the Jackman era a little bit, you know. So when you're losing to Munster in that manner, when you're losing to the Sharks, those away games were getting absolutely pumped. It was starting to become very reminiscent of the Bernard Chapman era, and we don't want to go back to those days. I want to see us competitive. I don't mind losing, but I want to see us be competitive. I want to see us get something out of it. I want losing bonus points or try bonus points. You know, I can't just accept heavy defeats like that because it's embarrassing and it does nothing to enhance the Dragons' reputation, quite frankly, you know. That's where I sit with it. Okay, let's move on then. Richard Idris Jones says, should the new ownership find the money for a defence coach? Yes. Attitude and desire. Yeah, that's an easy one to answer. He says, attitude and desire often comes from defence, and that was lacking against the Sharks. I think Flanagan needs more support around him. The coaching team needs strengthening. We've been saying it, Gav.
Oh, yeah. You know, you are singing to the choir there, Richard, because we are absolutely on board with that. There are lots of good defence coaches out there. Just go to any rugby league club and say, how do you organise your defence?
Yeah. Because in fairness, when Simon Cross left to go to America, it did leave Dragons in the lurch a little bit. It didn't leave them a lot of time to find someone. No. So there is that to consider. How hard have they tried? And we got to stop hiding behind the budget excuse all the time, you know? I'm sorry, but if we got investors there, and the coaching team is not part of the playing budget, as we're told, then I'm sorry, you got to put your money where your mouth is now, Mr. Buttress, Mr. Wright, and Ho Young Yu, and start investing in some bloody good coaches.
And the thing is, as well, like, we're not going to get Sean Edwards because he's not in our price range, but there are coaches, and rugby league coaches turn into great defensive coaches. There are rugby league coaches who will be talented, will be good at organising defences, and will not be earning lots of money. And we can go to those clubs in Super League and say, right, who's your defence guy? Do you want to come and go? We can probably give you a pay rise. And you won't have to live in Yorkshire.
Yeah. Daniel Green says, Dragons fought well to begin with, but tailed off badly towards the end. We really missed Reid and Kai badly. Yeah, I mean, it didn't help losing Kai and Will Reid today. It really did not help us at all.
Having not a 10 is an arsick at whatever level of rugby you play.
Yeah. This is an interesting question, Gav. I don't quite understand the question, if I'm being completely honest, but I do appreciate Ricky sending it in. He says, can we discuss scrum penalties becoming a complete nonsense? Why is it always a pen when you're simply not as powerful as the opposition? When the referee gave Coleman a yellow, he may as well have told him to spend the next 10 minutes getting bigger and stronger. Now, like I said, I don't quite understand the question or the angle that Ricky's coming from. Does he not want dominant scrums rewarded? I don't understand. What do you think of that question?
I understand the point he's making, and I'm not, I'm not dense. I can understand the point he's making, but that is Coleman's job, and it's not just about being bigger and stronger. It is about being technically proficient, because as my close dear friend Nick, who passed away a couple of years ago, would always tell me, it's not about who's strongest, it's about who understands the technique the best in the front row. And he was a very good tight end at our level. And it's true, it's about technique. And you look at the best tight ends, and they are technical players. You know, they are not Danny Cipriani by any stretch of imagination. Of being a tight end prop, and where you place your arms, and when you move your arms, and when you move your feet, is an incredibly complex technical skill set. And it's not Chris Coleman's fault, because he's not being coached to that level either. he hasn't got somebody showing him how you become a really good scrummager. And it always makes me think of Australia when they got Ledesma in and the Australian scrum went from being second rate to being really strong because they had a guy that said, put your arm there, put your feet there, keep your head down, do that. And we just don't have anyone doing that. So, and scrummages are a game and you have to hold your end up. And if you don't hold your end up, you get penalised.
You are going to get penalised, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's just rugby, you know? If you can't compete up front, and like you said, whether it's you're being overpowered, outmuscled, it's always going to be penalty to the other team.
But again, and I'm talking about a very amateur level of rugby, but you do the things that you can't limit it. You put the feed in a bit quicker. You move your binds slightly more. You know, you try to do things just to alter it. You know, you get a feed quicker in, you're hooked quicker, and you're getting it out quicker. So you were not really giving it time to.
Yeah. And that's one thing that does annoy me. There have been occasions where I've seen our scrum, you know, be on the back foot, and we're too slow getting the ball out. Now, I watched Cardiff Stormers on the weekend. Cardiff were on the back foot all game. Stormers mashed them up front. But what they did quite cleverly, Cardiff, they got the ball out quick when it was their scrum.
Yeah.
And we don't do that enough. Sometimes I think we ask about too much. We just get the bloody ball out. You know, I think we're too slow in getting it out.
I don't understand clubs where you like that. Why are you trying to hold it? Why are you trying? You're not going to hold it. Your 8's just going to have to flicker out to the 9, and then your 9's going to have to welly up the field. It's not pretty, but it's more pretty than having your arse folded up, you know.
No, absolutely. Okay, then, so that's the mailbox. Thank you for your questions and comments. Shall we move on to your Gwent Rugby Roundup, Gav? What have you got for us this week?
Well, I'm going to start with the disappointing news that we spoke with Rian, that Pontypool have pulled out of this Saturday's game against RGC because they don't have any front row available. Now, and I've not lived in the Valleys for a long time, right? But I am an Eastern Valleys boy. I am the son of a prop. We build props in Eastern Valleys. You know, you go in Spoons and Ebbw Vale, there's a couple of tight heads there ready to go any time. You know, what is happening? What is happening to the game that is not happening? You know, that's not occurring. And yeah, right. I appreciate going to Colwyn Bay is a long way from Pontypool, but come on, boys, you're semi-professional. You know, you're getting paid to do this. I trained with a rugby team in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that travelled 7.5 hours for some of their away games. And these were guys who, you know, were paying to play. So Pontypool must be able to put together, because there must be clubs they can borrow players from. You know, there must be guys playing at that level before. You know, must be guys playing for Bedworth or Cross Keys or Newbridge who they can borrow. Because it won't be ideal, but... And then, you know, Pontypool are going to be in this elite league. Well, that's not elite, is it?
Couple of things to consider here. First of all, Pontypool have got more resources and money behind them than any team in the league. So it's really bizarre that they can't find anyone to fill a front row. Secondly, I don't know if you remember a couple of seasons ago, they put out a statement about Berride, didn't they?
Oh, I remember it, yeah.
And they wanted them expelled from the league. So there was a lot of schadenfreude after that statement for Pontypool. A lot of people.
I've seen
it. Did you see the replies to the quote tweets they got? They actually switched off the comments, Pontypool.
Yes.
They had to switch off the comments. They got a lot of stick for that. And that's not a good look. As much as I like Pontypool, that's not a good look.
But just think about it. You are the club that, you know, my dad played against that Pontypool front row and said it was like trying to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops. Like, you know, you just couldn't do anything against them. And all of a sudden, it's a disgrace, really. And it's letting down Gwent Rugby.
I mean, so much for the Pontypool front row and on this occasion, because there is no front row.
No, because they don't want to go to Colwyn Bay on a cold Saturday.
It'd be interesting to see what sanctions there'll be from this. Because I know RGC, they were very unhappy with it, weren't they?
I've seen, I follow RGC on Twitter and on Facebook, and Yeah, the Welsh
were
language
happy.
statement was even slightly less well-tempered than the English language one.
Well, they've missed out on a home game, and it's revenue for the club, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, these grassroots clubs, they need the revenue, and they've missed out. So
And
I can understand why they're
RGC,
angry.
you know, RGC particularly, because there isn't really the culture up there in that stadium, the Stadium Zip World, is where when I taught in Colwyn Bay, we used to take our kids for sports days. So it always makes me laugh that it's now a semi-professional stadium, but
Brilliant. So what else have we got there, Gav, in the Gwent Rugby Roundup?
well, Pontypool have not had a good week because they lost to Bridgend last week.
Yeah.
They lost 27-23. Ebervale have convincing win against Swansea, 36-7. And then top of the table clash, Llandovery and Newport. Llandovery convincing winners there, 29-7. So Newport have fallen off the pace a little now, and Llandovery have kind of made themselves kind of space now at the top. So, you know, there's Gwent teams in 3 of their 4 top places, except not top. But we'll be interested to see if there's a points removal for Pontypool. It'll make Cardiff a bit closer. In the Championship, a kind of some good results, some less good results for our clubs. Bedwas beat Ystrad Rhondda 46-19 at home. They're having a up and down season, Bedwas, but they are winning home games, which is kind of helping them get the league. Glamorgan Wanderers and Cross Keys drew 24 all.
Oh,
that's
interesting.
Yeah, Glamorgan Wanderers, home of my favourite rugby shirt when I was a child. I loved their shirt. And I got my dad to buy me one from the sports shop in Cardiff when I was a kid because I just loved those colours. Penaltha lost quite heavily at home to Bezzai. They lost 40-16 at home. Struggling this season a little bit there, you know, but I think it's a big step up for a club of that size to be playing some of the clubs they are playing. You know, they're in with Newbridge and clubs at that level. And then in the Division 1, Bedlinog beat Risca 36-27. Bryn Mawr unbeaten, 40-12 winners against Abergavenny. Bryn Mawr a bit further down the league just because there's been a lot of postponements. If you've ever been up to Bryn Mawr's field, it is one of the coldest, windiest places on God's green earth, bless it. Nelson lost 21-25 to Monmouth. Monmouth who haven't had a great start. A good win for them. Blaenavon lost 13-5 away to St. Geneth. And then in the derby of vague sides on that area, Talawine beat NSD 27-26.
Oh. That's a bit disappointing.
The Tane Basham versus Hugh Derby.
Is that everything from the Gwent Rugby Roundup?
Yeah, that's what I have at the minute. I'm going to have more from lower down the leagues next week.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to rating the players' playlist. Right. So this one is from Roger Williams. Oh, sorry, for those who aren't aware, just listened to this for the first time. So the Dragons will be doing a feature where they're asking the players to contribute 6 songs to the matchday playlist, the music they play at Rodney Parade before the actual game starts, where the players are warming up. And it's just a bit of fun, and we've been rating some of them. We rated Elliot Dees, and we rated our god-awful Matthew Screech playlist, which I think we said, Gav, was music for 9-year-olds, I think we said, didn't we?
Yeah, music for people who didn't like music.
Yeah. So this is what Roger Williams chose. Now, this was for the pre-season game against the Ospreys. This is a much, much improved playlist over Matthew Screech's. This is grown-up music, I'm pleased to say. Although it does fade away a little bit in the last 2 songs, which I'll tell you about now. So he kicks off. It's a strong choice, Gav. Don't Look Back in Anger, Oasis.
Well, I like Oasis. I think that's the most irritating song.
Oh, Gav. It's a classic.
And a friend of mine was convinced for years the lyrics were stand up by the fireplace, take that woodpecker off your face. So in my head, that's the line I always hear.
What's your favourite Oasis song, Gav?
Favorite Oasis song is Columbia or Slide Away.
Oh, Slide Away's a belter. That's off. They're off the Definitely Maybe album.
They're both first album. Yeah, Columbia is great. That's proper kind of driving, jammy kind of Stones Roses-y stuff. And I love Slide Away. It's
it's a belter. I love that one as well. So that's a good choice. Anyway, well, for me it is. Anyway, I think that's a good start.
It's better than David Guetta last week, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yes. This one I'm not so keen on because when it first came out, do you remember Real Radio? That
yes.
station, Real Radio Wales.
Vaguely.
They played this song to absolute death. And I used to work shifts in a factory. I used to work days, afternoons, and nights. And I'd hear it all the time, no matter what time of the day I was working. They would put this song on at least 4 or 5 times a day. I started to really hate it. He's chosen America by Razorlight.
Yeah, it's yes. I think I haven't overheard it like you. I'm not a huge Razorlight fan, but that is a good song. So the guy who taught me guitar was in a band with Johnny Burrell of Razorlight just before before they became Razorlight.
Oh, fair play. Okay, now with the next 2 songs, I'm a big fan of this because I love the Stereophonics. He's chosen 2 Stereophonic songs. 1,000 Trees, that's a classic. You can't argue with that one.
Banger.
And Dakota, which is a very popular song and maybe an obvious choice, but that's what he's gone with. 1,000 Trees and Dakota. So what are your thoughts on that one, on those choices?
First Phonics album is great, and I will happily wrestle anyone who says differently.
Yes.
And I think if you're Welsh, and particularly if you have any connection to the Valleys, that first album is a bit like the national anthem, and it's songs about being from the Valleys, stuff like More Life in the Tramps Fest, 1,000 Trees, all of those songs. And I played music with friends of mine on the weekend for my birthday, and the guy who played bass, Adrian, is one of my oldest friends. We've been mates since, well, nearly 40 years now. And he's played in lots of covers bands in the Valleys, and he plays loads of Manic songs, and he's no Manic, Phonic songs, and he still says 1,000 Trees still one of his favorite songs to play, and he's probably played it live 300-400 times. But on the Kelly thing, so his new band, what are they called?
Far From Saints.
Far From Saints. So they played Bexhill, which is the next town across from where I live. And my mate went to see them. I didn't, but my mate went to see him, and he caught his pick. And I played my set with Kelly Jones's pick from that gig.
Oh, nice one. Fair play.
So going off the point a bit, So I played the set with Kelly Jones's pick. Slightly less well than Kelly does. I'm not a lover of Dakota.
I don't know about you. I don't know if you notice this. So we go on holiday to Benidorm quite a lot, right? And they have a lot of, guitar singers playing in all the pubs and clubs in the day. Anytime they'll say, anyone from Wales, play something Welsh. 9 times out of 10, they'll play Dakota Stereophonics. They always play that one.
So it was more or less 4 years ago now. I went to watch the Wales Barbarians game. It was P. Vatch's first game. And I met up with a mate of mine that played rugby much younger than me. He was a university student from Hastings who'd gone to uni in Cardiff. He lives in Cardiff now. And I took him to the Philly. And I said, because he was all drinking the spoons. I said, no, I'm buying, George. I'll take, go to a proper pub. And there was a guy playing guitars. And he said, oh, that'll be good. I said, I reckon he'll play a lot of phonics. And then the first thing, phonics songs.
Yeah.
And Dakota was one of those, but
of course,
it's the chorus. It's a bit whiny, isn't it?
I like Dakota. I don't think it's a song I could ever get bored of. I've heard it, honestly, I've heard it more times than I care to remember. It is probably the most popular song now.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen the Phonics live lots of times. I mean, I saw them live in the Principality Stadium just gone with Tom Jones for supporting them. When they played Dakota, they're fantastic. I must have seen them like 5-6 times. When they played Dakota, when you hear the crowd go nuts.
Oh yeah.
And they always, this is their encore now. That's what they end the shows with. They love it. It is a really good set closer. And it is a good song. Like I said, I've heard it a million times. I got a lot of love for Dakota, even though it's a well-worn classic, I would say. But yes, so that's Dakota and the Thousand Trees. We now move on to really bland Irish pop band The Script with Hall of Fame. I don't like the song at all.
Oh God, that's your man who was on the Voice, wasn't it?
Voice. Danny
Yeah.
O. Is it Danny something? Yeah,
Oh,
I can't remember his name. Yeah. You like this one, Gav?
No.
Standing
No.
in the Hall of Fame. Do, 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 do,
It's
do.
it's a
Is that
shit.
what it is?
It's a shit Maroon 5. And just let that
Oh,
phrase sit. Just let that phrase sink in a bit. A shit Maroon 5.
there aren't many bands I really hate, but I fucking hate Maroon 5. I absolutely detest them. Can't stand them. And I can't tell you really good reasons why. I just don't like their music. I do not like any song that they've ever put out.
Well, I don't know what it is. Who's that for? Who is buying Maroon 5 records?
Yeah. Moves Like Jagger is an absolute abomination.
Oh,
But Heart Radio, where I used to work in an office where, I was the only male colleague there, and they all put on Heart Radio. That was the choice in the office I worked in. And I must have heard Moves Like Jagger fucking 10 times a day, and I used to hate it. Absolutely hate it. And I blame Heart Radio for that, which is why I never listen to Heart anymore.
no, I did when I was in the covers band. We played a Maroon 5 song, but I can't.
Oh, which one was it?
It was their first single.
Oh, Harder to Breathe, I bet, was it? Was it Harder to Breathe?
No, God, what was it called?
Well, that was their first single. That was their first big hit, wasn't it? Harder to Breathe.
Oh God, is it called This Love? This Love.
Oh, yeah. In its toll on me, she said goodbye too many times before. Oh God, yeah.
This is exactly what people want on a rugby pod. 2 middle-aged men singing Maroon 5 songs.
Moving quickly on then. Eminem, Lose Yourself. Now, to be fair, whether you like Eminem or not, that's a good match day song. That gets good. Players pumped up.
It's good.
Have you seen
music.
9 Mile, the film?
Yes, 8 Mile. 8 Mile, yeah.
Oh, 8 Mile, sorry.
Yeah.
No, 9 Mile, yeah.
Oh, it's good hype music.
Yeah.
It is
so
good
I
hype
think
music.
that's a decent choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
9 Mile. Why the fuck did I say 9 Mile? 8 Mile. Of course it's 8 Mile. Silly me. So there we are then. So we've got Don't Look Back at Anger by Oasis, America Razorlight, Thousand Trees and Dakota by the Stereophonics, and Hall of Fame by The Script, and then ended on Lose Yourself by Eminem. I'm giving this 7 out of 10. I am going to have to mark it down because of The Script.
I'm going to give it 7 as well, I think.
But he's got some really good indie choices in there, isn't he? I love the fact he's got Oasis, Stereophonics, and that's not my favorite. Well, I hate that song America by Razorlight, but Razorlight were decent. Are they still going?
No.
Are they still going? They've disbanded now, have they?
No, right, Johnny Burrell's doing something else.
Oh, right, okay. So you're giving it a 7, yeah?
Yeah. I think that's
fair.
fair.
I'll give it a 7 as well. Okay, brilliant.
I still think Elliot's is the highest scoring one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Oh, I can't wait to see what the one or what player we're going to get with Oyonnax on music, because that'll be the next one now, the Oyonnax home game in Europe. So we'll wait and see who the nominated player is and what songs he'll provide for us. But I'm enjoying these ratings playlists, by the way. I mean, there's some brilliant choices. Some choices are like, what is that? But no, it's all good fun, isn't it? Okay, so let's move on to this weekend then. And it doesn't get any easier, Gav. They're still in South Africa, and they've got to play the Lions, who absolutely battered Zebra. They've named the same team, no changes for the Lions, but why would you? No. So the game kicks off on Saturday, 3:05 UK time. The game is live on Fireplay and BBC Wales. So this game is going to be shown on BBC Two Wales, which is probably a little bit unfortunate for them, because this kicks off, it's 3:00 kickoff, the Cardiff and Scarlets derby, and I'm pretty sure BBC would much prefer to be showing that game than showing us. But what was you saying about Fireplay then?
Fireplay becoming Premier Sports, aren't they? Again.
Yes. So for those who aren't aware, Premier Sport are now taking over from Fireplay. So it was Premier Sports to begin with. They sold it to Fireplay, and now it's going back to Premier Sports. So yeah, that's how it's working at the moment. So yeah. It won't make any difference to our subscription, though. It'll just continue as normal, so we
Oh,
don't
will
need to
it?
cancel
Okay.
and do any of that. Yeah, according to Simon Thomas, it'll all change over, so it'll still be
Okay.
on the same channels as Sky and Virgin. But yeah, we've basically gone back to the start. So
Oh.
yeah, I mean, at least you get to see every game live. You know, I know it's a lot of criticism with Premier and Viaplay,
Yeah.
but I always said if another broadcaster picks it up, there's no guarantee you'll see every game live. So we got to be thankful of that, at least, haven't we?
Yeah.
So the referee is Italian. It's Andrea Piardi, is it? Pinardi? I don't know if I pronounced that right. This is his 39th game. Yeah, we haven't beaten a South African opponent since winning 13-10 at home to the Cheetahs in February 2020.
God bless the
We're
Cheetahs.
coming off. I like the Cheetahs.
I like
Lions
them,
only.
rubbish.
They were that bad. They were
We beat them, Jamie. We beat them.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Lions' only previous defeat to a Welsh region was to the Scarlets in Clefley in October 2021. Our most recent away win in any competition. Can you remember it? What was our last away win in any competition?
Last away win, and then we have had this conversation, and I forgot it was Europe, wasn't it? And it was against someone silly.
It was against Poe away in the Challenge Cup.
Yes. I knew it was Europe, and I knew it was a French team.
Yeah, and as mentioned before, the two sides have met on 4 previous occasions in all competitions, with Lions winning 3 of them, plus a 31-all draw in Johannesburg in the Challenge Cup. Right, Gav, how do we feel about this game? What were your thoughts heading into it? Do we have a chance?
No, we don't.
We don't. Okay.
No, it's. Are they going to put 50 points on us? Maybe not. Maybe not. But are we going to win it? Probably not. Because if their scrum is as strong as Rian says, and to be fair, I saw their scrum against Benetton, and they dismantled that. Not Benetton, Zebra.
Zebra, yeah.
Yeah, they dismantled that Zebra scrum. So.
Yeah.
And yeah, the tight head he talked about. He looks quite a handful.
He's huge. Have you seen him? I know the guy you were on about. He's absolutely huge.
I watched the Zebra highlights, and yeah, he's just massive. How are you moving him? Rodri is going to have quite his time on his hands there.
I think it's fair to say we need Rodri Jones and Lloyd Fairbrother for this. Hopefully they will be our starting props. And hopefully it's likely they will Reid, because we're recording this before the teams get announced, of course. But we know the Lions have announced their team is unchanged. But for us, it looks likely that Will Reid is going to start. He's past his protocols by all accounts. If not, then we're probably going to be looking at someone like Steph Hughes at 10. I don't think it'd be Jordan, because he'd be playing at fullback. I expect Jordan to be named fullback for this game. But it's very difficult to see anything other than a Lions win. But what we don't want to see is another battering, Gav, do we?
No. So right, I'm not going to talk about the score match. I'm going to talk about the strange idea I've had. What would you think about putting Rio at fullback?
Has he played fullback before? For Dragons or
I can't remember
Wales under 20s or anything?
He might have played it for Wales under 20s. I can't remember him ever doing it Dragons. I might be wrong. I'm sure one of our listeners can tell us. But I was thinking about, who would you select at fullback for Wales currently? And him and Josh Adams are both very good under a high ball. But yeah, maybe Rio at fullback, Ashton and Jared on the wings, or Ewan on the wing.
Yeah, it'd have to be Ewan on the wing, because Jared's ruled out. He's ruled out with concussion.
Yeah.
I mean, the only concern I would have is Rio's kicking game good enough for fullback?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because he very rarely kicks, doesn't he? I don't see him kicking much, Rio. No. So does he have that kicking game needed? Yeah. In terms of Wales, I actually think it'll be Ludovic Samet or Josh Adams at fullback, or Kai Evans. Well, it looks like Kai might be playing 10, but it's an interesting point.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping they'll play one of those, because I want them to bring that lad from Exeter into the squad.
Oh, I know the one.
The Cardiff lad, whose name I'm passing me, Gabriel something, I think it is,
Yeah, he looks quite a talent, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not feeling confident about this game, it's fair to say.
Lions
Playing it
by 28. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, we're playing at altitude. I mean, the heat. We need to see a reaction, I think, now from the Dragons, because I think win or lose, we will expect the Dragons to lose, but they've got to give us something to cheer about.
Oh, yeah. There's got to be something to put our claws into.
Absolutely. And if they come away with a bonus point, but we concede 40, 50 points, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
I would take a 28-52 or something like that.
God, this shows how low our expectations are, doesn't it? To say, yeah, take a 50 points, hammer in.
As long as it's got 28.
Oh, how have we ended up like this? Honest to God. I won't be watching this game live. I'll be at Rodney Parade on Saturday watching Newport County versus Barnet in the FA Cup, which might be a nice distraction, to be quite honest.
And I will be playing in the first round of the Sussex Salva against Lewis second 15.
The glamour of it, isn't it? Yeah, so I'll be recording this game and I'll have to watch it back. I will be checking my phone for updates, but it's hard to see anything other than a comprehensive defeat. The Lions are a good team, and I said, before we started recording, I don't think they get the respect that they deserve. And okay, yes, they are the weakest South African franchise, but that's like saying Connacht is the weakest Irish province, but they're still a bloody good team. Doesn't matter whether they're weakest or not, and it's going to be incredibly difficult. My prediction was Lions by 35 on the Rat Pod, and I'm going to stick with that. But whatever happens, please give us some green shoots, Dragons. Give us something to cheer. A bonus point would be terrific. But it's going to be very difficult, isn't it? And can we compete up front? How much work has been put in this week on scrums, set piece? I mean, they've been pumping a lot of iron. I don't know if you've been watching the Dragons' social media. Why do we pump out all these videos of them training all the time? Because compared to the other regions, they don't seem to do as much. But the social media team of the Dragons, they love putting out these videos of us in training. And you think, they're working really hard, fair play. And then you see them on the field. And it's a different story. It doesn't quite translate, does it?
We played the uni team as well, didn't we, in the live training session?
Yes, we played Cape Town University. We trained against them, which I think is quite handy, actually. Rather than just training by ourselves.
But,
I mean,
why are we playing in Cape Town? Why aren't we playing at altitude? Why aren't we training at altitude?
Yeah, I don't really understand why they went, because they went to Cape Town, didn't they, for like a few days, and then they headed down to Johannesburg. I don't know. I got no idea. But,
as Leon said, playing in Cape Town, playing in Johannesburg, two very different experiences. Yeah. So, the Western Cape and High Veld are very different places. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, then, on that note, it hasn't been very positive, I know, but I mean, after a defeat like that, it was always going to be a tricky pod, a more downbeat pod. I mean, I'd love to be talking about more wins. We're not quite there yet, though, are we, Gav? There's still a lot of work to be done, I'm afraid.
A little.
A little, yeah. Brilliant. Thank you for joining me, Gav. It's been a pleasure as always, and thanks, of course, to our guest, Rhian, who was really good value. We shall speak next week, where hopefully we may have something to cheer about, or it won't be as bad as what we saw in Durban. But fingers crossed for a reaction this week.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. We'll speak next week. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the Dragons Lair podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question is, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.